Okay. So for those of you who were not able to make it to the library's um, AI learning circle this past Saturday, because the Saturdays in May are a little bit rough to get to, graduation and holidays, etc. We decided that we'd put it online and that everybody could watch it at their convenience and then kind of practice along. And then if you missed a week at the learning circle um, in person, then you could just catch up online. All right. So the whole point of the learning circle was just to create kind of a little bit of a sandbox where we are just going to explore and play with general use AI or generative AI. So it was just a place to be curious and a place to tinker with it and try new things. And if you were a beginner, um, it was a great way to just kind of dip your toes in the water. So we talk about how you can use this tool in your life and in your workplace and how you can't use it. It's not perfect. So, when I first told Lori I was going to do an AI circles, this is the first thing that she shared with me, was a meme that she had seen not too long before I brought the idea to her. It was, we're smart enough to invent AI, dumb enough to need it, and so stupid that we can't figure out if we did the right thing. That was Jerry Steinfeld's take on AI some time ago. So currently, AI has this Wild West vibe to it where anything goes. It's jumping into the workspace scene so quickly that we kind of don't know how to use it yet. What are the rules? What are the ethics and morals surrounding AI? What about the environmental impact of these large-scale data centers? Is the law going to be able to keep up with the new crimes that AI will create? Think deep fake videos, etc. Who polices it? Who oversees it? Um, if someone uses AI to write a book or a song, uh, who gets the credit for it? If the human does 51% of the work and AI does 49, does the human get credit for it? Or does the AI get credit for it? So it still feels like a lot of things need to get hammered out. And of course, you have human workers that are kind of getting caught in the crossfire. And the rollout of AI is very much like the rollout of computers, back in the 90s. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember that, the 80s and 90s, back when they were still running in DOS mode. There was displacement of workers and workers trying to figure out how to use the technology. But it had the same goal as AI computers did, and that was to make a worker more efficient. And that's kind of where we are right now too. We're just trying to figure out how to use the tool to help us be more efficient. But it does feel kind of disruptive right now. So we're all in the learning phase of how to learn AI. So, um, right now we're actually in this little lull period for AI adoption. So the early AI adopters have already taken it in and made changes to like their businesses, etc. And there's a whole bunch of us just waiting to see how it turns out for them. Was it a success? Was it a big mistake? All those people who got fired because of AI, are they going to have to hire them all back anyway to do the job? So anyway, it doesn't matter how you do it. Now is a great time to kind of dive right in and try to learn some AI tools and techniques. So why is AI such a leap forward? And we have Professor Shaw from MIT who kind of sums it up very nicely. It's because previously humans had to talk to machines in the language of machines to make things happen. Now, this AI interface, has figured out how to talk to both humans and machines. So it's that layer between us and them, which allows us to talk to a machine in our natural language. So you don't have to learn Python or Java or C++. We can just use, in our case, English. We could use Spanish, French, etc. So this also means that unlike computers, which had quite a big learning curve in the beginning, I mean, remember, it was DOS and you were typing in your command codes and everything. AI is designed to be used by anyone on day one. It doesn't matter if you're like a 70-year-old retiree or just chatting with it in your native language. It blows those language barriers to bits. Now, it does make you wonder, like, how soon are we getting to like this point, this dystopia point? Nothing we do in this class will come even close to that. So you can't think of it as artificial intelligence as actually intelligent. It's not intelligent. Think of it more as complex information processing and applied statistics, which is more accurate but does not sound as cool as AI. But that being said, I have no idea what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years. I mean, they're going at such a rate, at such a pace. So when we come together on Saturdays, this is the in-person format that we use. Um, Obviously, when you attend via video recording, it's different because you can pause at any time. But on Saturdays, we have a little informational lesson. We practice a little bit together, but most of it is about tinkering and testing and walking around to see what other people are doing. We share what we tried to build, what prompts we used, if anything weird or funny happened, which happens somewhat frequently. And then the last couple minutes, we talk about what to expect next week. But if you're using the video to learn, you can just pause it at any time and tinker on your computer. So what is AI? So according to Gemini, which is Google's AI, it is a technology that enables computers to simulate human intelligence, including learning, reasoning, problem solving, and creativity. It simulates it. It does not have the same capacity as human understanding. It's just not quite there yet, but it's good at faking it. So remember, it's like a complex language software using applied statistics. So a lot of it is searching its training, its databases for relevant content and pattern recognition, whether it's text or images, and then generating an output based on statistically what word should come next. Um, it is a general purpose technology that can be used in a wide variety of industries and capacities, just like computers and automobiles and the internet. It's supposed to take over activities that humans view as toil. So learn to use it to do the things you hate whenever possible. It's supposed to be your helper. So that's how we have to learn how to use it. It's that assistant that you would pass drudgery to, or an intern that has to learn the ropes. As long as the task is simple, repetitive, and well-defined. You can't just, give it some broad view. You will not like what you get back. Okay, and don't just think about using these large model AIs, like Claude and Perplexity and ChatGTP. There's also numerous specialty AIs out there, like Otter AI, which transcribes your voice to text, and that's a good one too. Google's Notebook LM seems to be kind of a popular one right now with students and teachers and librarians, people who have to have a whole lot of information crunched down into something much more manageable. So that one would be like an information manager or information organizer. But for here, we're focusing on the larger chatbots. So there's a lot of things going on behind what we see on our screens, like machine learning and large language models and small language models and scaffolding that makes it all work. But that's not what we talk about in class. It's all about how we apply that technology. We're not out here to recreate it. So in regards to what A is not, it is not all-knowing. It is not an authority on truth. Correct information and incorrect information, biased information, unbiased information, all has equal weights in its eyes. It can't tell the difference. It doesn't have understanding. It can't apply outside reasoning to discern between the two, and it's trained on both. And so that's what it will spit back out. So it leads to problems like being confidently incorrect for one and hallucinating. We talk about more of that next week on May 9th at the Learning Circle. So some people treat AI as like a coworker or a co-pilot, and you're bouncing ideas off each other. And some say it's more like an intern. It's trained in the fields, but has gaps in the knowledge and skill level. So you, as the boss, would still have to double check before letting it go public. In the ChatGTP book for dummies that the library has, the author relates a story about how a friend of hers equates generative AI to having an army of fifth graders help with the task. Will they do it right? Maybe. It depends on the quality of the instructions that you give. Even with the best instructions, the fifth graders can only do so much. They hit a limit. But even if they can complete 90% of the task, that's 90% that you don't have to do. And that makes it valuable. But I'll confess that if you want to know what librarians use it for, We all confessed at a previous conference last year that we use a lot of it for brainstorming programming, brainstorming display ideas. We use it to create some flyers and marketing stuff. Um, Especially since personally I have a stickman level of artistic skill, so being able to generate a flyer is very satisfying. That looks look decent and presentable. So when you first start, choosing an AI chat is kind of a chatbot is it's a little experimental. So right now, ChatGTP currently has about 60% of the market share. So it's the dominant one. It is also great as an all-around chatbot. It's great at images. So when we're doing flyers, that's the one we're going to use. It has Dolly, DALL-E, which is an image generation AI embedded into it. So that is a great one for beginners. Claude, which is one I'm currently tinkering with right now, is much better at um, what am I going to say? It's much better at writing. I think I use it better if for research, it seems to be more accurate. You still have to go back and check your sources. But so far, what I've fed into it, it has been very good at providing the source it got it from and also has been more accurate. DeepSeek is the Chinese AI that kind of burst onto the scene not too long ago. Um, that one, if you have a free account, there are currently no limitations on how long you can tinker with it. So I've tinkered with it for a long time, not as much as ChatGTP and Claude, and I've never run out of playtime with it with a free account. Whereas ChatGTP, GPT, and Claude, they used to have much longer times that you could play with it before it told you to pay. Those times are getting shorter and shorter as more people sign up. Um, and all of these, except for DeepSeek and LeChat, are American-based companies. LeChat is a French-based company. That might be a contender if you're more interested in privacy. The EU privacy rules are a little tougher or a little more protective for consumers over in Europe. If you don't want to sign up for anything, Duck.ai is one that I've tried a couple times. And yes, you can only play with it for a short amount of time, but it's a little bit longer than the others. But that one actually has several chat AIs in it, and you can select which one that you want to play with at the time. So if you're just starting, that might be a good one to tinker with. But when you really start digging in, yes, you probably will have to pay for a $20 a month subscription. Just the bottom tier, unless you're doing something really heavy. Okay, so what must you know? You must know that the prompts are everything. You got to be able to tell it what you want it to do. The quality of your input, of your prompt, affects the outcome dramatically. So a good prompt equals a good result. A bad prompt is a bad result, better known as garbage in, garbage out. And not all AIs are the same. You can use the same prompt and get different results between each AI. So now sometimes we see in prompt libraries, prompts designed for different AIs. And a prompt library it's what it sounds like. It's a library of prompts that people have used to obtain an output. And sometimes you can actually go in there and see if something in there applies to Wharton um, College over at UPenn. They have a prompt library. I'm not a student, so none of those apply to me. I don't have to create notes or anything like that or learn how to negotiate. But that is also a great way to see some more advanced prompts in action. And it shows you the whole thing. So when internet search engines became a thing, keywords were everything, and it was really difficult if you couldn't articulate what you were looking for, like what words do I need? And it's kind of the same way with prompts. It's actually opening up a whole new field of work called prompt engineers, not for like the introductory stuff like we're doing here, but for more complicated tasks. And interestingly enough, the more you know about the field or the task that you're doing, um, the better able you will be, the better you can wield AI to your advantage because it's easier to create the prompt that you need. You will know the questions to ask, you'll know the jargon, you'll understand the output needed because you already know what the end result needs to look like. So it's easier it's easier to see the errors too when it does make a mistake. So in this case, you're someone with experience in the field using AI. They're going to use AI to generate a draft of what they want done. And then they would go through it, find the errors, tinker with it, and kind of get it to where what the end result needs to be. So it's a time saver for someone who's good at who is experienced in their field. An amateur wouldn't be able to really see the errors at all. It doesn't really know what to ask yet, may not have that reference point for the end result needed. So AI is more useful to those experienced in the field. But as you grow in your role and in your field, AI would be able to grow with you. Okay, so here's some examples of some bad prompts. And what makes them bad is that they're just too broad. It just has no context. AI doesn't do, well, I suppose if you have like no expectation at the end, they're not too bad. But you can go ahead, type one of these in. I remember I asked, what should I make for dinner one time to Claude? And its answer was, how should I know? I don't know what's in your refrigerator. And I'm like, that's fair enough. Now, if you type one of these in, depending on which AI you use, it will talk to you and it will try to ask for more details or try to narrow it down so that it knows it, it tries to get you where you need to go. So, but I should tell you that when you do, okay, let me back up for a second. How AI works is that you have like a set number of what they call tokens. So whenever you ask AI a question, you digitally pay a token in order to get the answer. So the more you chat back and forth, the more tokens that you're using, and then all that free time that you're tinkering with it just kind of goes out the door. If you create a good prompt first, and then you only have to tinker with it so much, then your tokens actually go a bit further, your tokens slash your money that you're paying into it. So you always want to sit down and have a good think and create a good prompt. You want to go from A to B in the shortest time possible. Okay, so this is the simplest prompt structure. This is not what we will learn, what we learned on Saturday, but at the minimum, what do I want? What should the AI know? And what should it look like at the end? So, okay. And then at the end, after you've asked that, you have three more steps to success. So you ask it a prompt, it spits out something, and then you review what it spit out, and then you're going to refine it. And then you're going to do all these things every time it gives you something, every time it gives you some output. That's what you're going to do. You're going to ask it something new, you're going to review its output, and then you're going to refine it again until you get to the end. And then the human can finish it off. So this is the one that we learn in class. So this is what we're going to call our basic temp prompt. So you'll notice at the top, there's a role. You give it a persona, which shapes how it communicates. Technically, it's optional, but if you do look at more advanced prompts, they all have it. It gives it AI a perspective. And as you tinker with it and give it different roles, you can see how it changes. And we'll talk about that again later. So you want to give it a role. You give it a task, which is the job that you want AI to do. Now it could be like send an email, write a list, etc., etc. Context, what information does it need to do the job? Details, tone, style, any constraints or boundaries, and output, how do you want it formatted? Okay, so in this case, we're going to do our first exercise. Okay, so we're going to give it a role and say it's a professional communicator. So we're going to say, write a note to my boss. The context is I need to request October 10th through 14th, 2026 off from work. Oops, that's supposed to say off from work. And details, keep it professional, but not overly formal. And then use an email subject or use an email format with a subject line. And you would just write that out in paragraph form. Yep, just it all needs to be in there in some way. So this one I used Claude for, and that's what it spits out. It gave me a subject line. Hi, boss's name. I like to request time off, I'll make sure everything is in good shape before I leave and coordinate with the team to ensure there are no gaps in coverage. Please let me know if this works or if you would like to discuss this further. And because it's Claude, I have the option of sending it just via email once I put in the proper names. I do like how at the end there it does have a please swap the names before you send. I wonder if someone's done that before. Okay, so and then here we go. Normally, if you experiment, you just change one thing at a time to see how it affects the outcome. But we also want to play with it and have some fun. So we're going to switch up a couple things. So we're going to change the role. I'm going to tell it to be a librarian. And I'm also going to say, write a note to the boss. I need to request October off. But I'm also going to tell it to be ridiculously funny and just irreverent, and then produce that email at the end. And there we go. And I added the photo. That was not part of the AI for this exercise. Dear boss, I'm requesting this time off. I said 4,700 times this year. I found a cheese sandwich inside a return book and I checked out Eat, Pray, Love to the same woman 17 times. Gary will cover my shift. I have accepted this. Please say yes. My therapist says so too. Exhaustedly yours. Actually, it spit out something much longer, but I made it shorter. It was pretty funny. I have to say, if you ask um, Claude or ChatGTP for humor, it does well. DeepSeek, the Chinese AI, failed. It did not have a sense of humor. And then for images, it's the same idea. For the role, I told it to do an impressionist painting. So I was thinking like Monet, right? So you want to use ChatGTP for this one. Claude can do images. They are not as advanced as ChatGTP. And I think in another week, I show you an example of the difference between the two. Although I know that Claude is experimenting with a new image AI, which I have not tinkered with at all. So we're going to tell ChatGTP, you are an impressionist painter. So generate an image of a garden in full bloom. Use pastel colors for flowers. Must have an oak tree with light filtering through and a pond with a swan swimming. The overall effect is soft and soothing. And then I wanted it in a landscape orientation for a flyer. And I really liked what it put out. This makes my heart happy. I would stick that up on my wall right now. It's beautiful. So good job, ChatGTP. It did take a while to render this, and I don't want to think about how many tokens I had to use for this one. Okay, so let's go back to some of those bad prompts that we had. And if you want an example of this one, then you can just type one into your AI, and then compare them between as well if you want to see what Claude creates versus DeepSeek versus ChatGTP or Perplexity or whatnot. So instead of saying, write a short story about a cat, you would want to say, you are a creative fiction writer. Write a flash fiction story about a cat's experience after escaping from the house. Include an emotional challenge and a turning point in the plot and a meaningful ending. That gives your chatbot like a lot more information to produce something that you actually want. What should I make for dinner? Cross that out. You are a home chef. I need 3 recipe ideas that make a meal for 5. I have 1 pound of leftover chicken and a ½ pound of fresh tomatoes that need to be used up. We are gluten-free and allergic to tree nuts. I have $10 to spend. I have 30 minutes to prepare the meal. What can I make? There you go. And I actually did do this, and it did print out some pretty good meals. So I was actually very impressed. I didn't actually make the meals, but okay. So then on Saturdays, when we have in-person time, this is when we tinker and play with the ideas that we just learned. So for Saturday, these were just some ideas to get the ball rolling. You don't have to do any of them. But I would suggest that you start with a topic that you know well because you'll see AI's limitations faster. Um, and I also suggest that you start with something that you could apply in your personal life that you have 100% control over. So you can see like the helpfulness level between you and AI. Did it actually help you? So people can use AI to help plan a vacation, for meal planning with grocery optimization, helping determine new career direction, creating a budget to analyze spending behavior, create a small business plan, generate a summary of several long documents. It does take a little time to kind of get the prompting right. And as you go back and forth and have that conversation with AI, you can usually come out with something pretty good within a few minutes. I've never tried AI for coding. I don't need coding at the library, obviously, even though I know that's where it shines. Another place where it really shines is like marketing campaigns, if you kind of give it the details of what you're marketing and tell it to create um, a week's worth of social media posts, or a week's worth of images to go along with those posts. That's pretty awesome. And of course, as always, don't put your private info into it, like your social security number, bank account info, passwords. It never needs that. Never share it. A couple caveats. Math is not AI's strong suit, especially like more basic math. You always have to double check any math it generates, which is super counterintuitive because it's a computer. But then this is AI is a language software. So AI is your friend who is good at English but sucked at math. Still comes off super confident about their answer, though. I've had it happen a couple times. Um, I had like four math problems I put in there. Got three of them right. The last one was wrong, and it took two tries to get it right. It is not for math. All right. So the next dates for our in-person AI sessions are going to be May 9th, May 16th, and May 30th. There is no Learning Circle on May 23rd, Memorial Day weekend. And then we're going to try to post the videos on Thursday afternoons if you missed a session or you just want to do it on your own time, and that's okay. So on May 9th, managing expectations. We go in and we talk about the jagged frontier, hallucinations, outdated info, biases, the whole lot. Or as much as we can just kind of fit in. And then we, of course, try to get it to do these things. So you can see how hard or easy it is. All right, that's it. Hopefully we will see you on or Saturday, May 9th. If not, keep watching for future videos. Don't forget, we're going to go into summer reading here shortly. And of course, there's more information about the newsletters, about getting your kids signed up for classes or classes for adults, too. All right, see you later.